fell down on the tennis courts and there's nobody I can sue for it. You're watching Unbillable. I don't want to do this episode. Oh boy. I fell down. Alright, let's just cut to it. Have you ever hurt yourself? Have you ever fallen down? Have you ever made a fool out of yourself? Have you ever done something you wish you didn't do and you got the scabs to prove it? Okay, so what does this have to do with Unbillable and being a lawyer? The law is everywhere. I talk about this all the time with anyone who will listen to me, and Unbilly's out there. Obviously, you're here to listen, so the law is everywhere. So let's talk about what happened to me. I'm sure some of you are going to love this. I play tennis. I'm sure, maybe Luis can go back into the archives and plug in some footage. You never know. Maybe I'll get some footage for him, like, more recent, and we'll plug it in. Whatever. I play tennis. And on the court next to me a lot of times, like before you get started, are like high school age kids, middle school age kids, there for their lessons, like the juniors, right? The kid players, the kids, the ones in school. And a lot of times they have to do little warm-up exercises that I'll just say I don't think they want to do. When I was that age, I didn't want to do them. I'm just going to assume they don't want to do them either. Most people want to get there. They want to hit the tennis ball. They don't want to do the little run, touch the line, run, touch the fence. They don't want to do that stuff. They don't want to stretch. They're just here to hit the ball. But when they're junior players, they get forced to do it. Anyways, I'm delaying the inevitable here. So, the junior players do this little, skip, kind of warm-up jog around the tennis court. They do that once. The pro does it with them. No names to protect the innocent and not so innocent. And then after they do one jog with the pro stands there and they do one sprint. Often, they don't really sprint that hard. Sometimes, I threaten to chase them. I've kind of gone over and chased a couple times, no big deal. Well, recently I made a decision to give chase. By recently, I mean yesterday. And let's just say, as I gave chase, as I was accelerating through first, second, and third gear of my speed, I could feel a little wobble in the motor. I could feel myself lose balance. And next thing you know, I went down. Oh yeah. It's my understanding I bounced a couple times. If I had the footage to show you, I wouldn't show it. Don't you laugh, Louise. If I had the footage to show it to you, I still wouldn't share it with you, but it's my understanding we don't have any footage. I think the people who were there to witness it would have paid large sums of money for this footage. But thankfully for me, there is no footage, so you're stuck with this story. And just in case you think I'm kidding, look at this knee. We're gonna do this, Louise. Look at my knee. I'm gonna get a shot of this knee here. I know it's sexy getting some leg here. Look at my knee. That thing hurts. I got a couple other burns. Like I said, I think I bounced a couple times. Popped back up, kept running. The adrenaline in the moment kept me going. I was fine, right? I didn't think everything was okay. About 30, 40 minutes later, as I continued to play tennis, as I started to play tennis, I felt a little, shoulder kind of burns. Looked at my shoulder. There's like a motorcycle rash, like a road rash. Let's call it tennis court rash right there. A little bit on both calves. And of course, it's the knee. So, what does everybody say right away? What does Louise say? What does my wife say? What does everybody say right away? What happened? What happened? And then quickly after you tell them the story of what happened, they cut to it. Anything you can do about it? Are you going to sue anybody? Come on, you're a lawyer. What are you going to do about it, right? And the answer is nothing. Well, first of all, do I feel as though anyone has wronged me? Do I feel as though, okay, first of all, I'm okay. My knee, it's cut, it's scraped. My arm, it's cut, it's scraped. I'm okay. I'm gonna be okay. No hospital visits. A lot of screaming and agony when I put those, alcohol swabs on it. But other than that, I'm totally okay. I'm walking. I'm fine. I'm gonna play at 5:30 tonight, and I'm gonna bring it. I always bring it anyways. I'm fine. So number one, what are my damages? My damages are my severely bruised ego, let's be honest. And of course, the reality of that, and I hate it, I'm getting older. I hate it. But it's the truth, and falling down while running without anything to trip you is a eye-opening experience, if you will, that Father Time is always looming large. But, so what am I going to do? Am I going to sue the tennis people? Am I going to sue the person who I was chasing? No, I'm not going to sue any of them. Can I sue them? And that's the question. Can you get hurt while playing tennis and then sue, like, the tennis court, sue the person you're playing against? The answer, generally speaking, is no. See, we're going to bring it back to legal. Full circle. I added sound effects. I don't know if you caught that. All right. Assumption of the risk. This is the legal theory that, like, when you choose to do something, you assume the risks that go with it. So, for example, you're playing tennis, right? You hurt your wrist when the racket hits the ball, right? Or you roll an ankle and hurt your ankle. Can you sue anybody for that? No. It's part of the risk of playing tennis. You've assumed the risk. Think about it like this. When you go to play basketball, let's say when you go to watch basketball, right? When you go to watch basketball, you've assumed the risk of, I don't know, let's say if you're in the first 3 to 5 rows, a player might, launch their body into the crowd to save a ball that's going out of bounds. Or maybe the ball itself might come shooting into the crowd, right? Baseball, you got a baseball game. Now, there's an interesting dialogue going on with baseball because the baseball flies out, foul balls, right, shoot out of the actual field of play and into the crowd. And you know that when you've gone there, so you've generally assumed the risk that potentially a baseball could fly out of the field and hit you, that the basketball could fly off the court and hit you. Now, with baseball more recently, they've been adding fencing, right? And they're adding this fencing because the ball is coming off the bat in such a way where the person being hit with the baseball is having a life-changing injury. Sometimes, I think, even causing death. And so the reason the fence is going up is mostly because they want to stop injuring their own fans. It's not that those fans didn't assume the risk. They have assumed some risk. It's also on the back of your ticket. We won't even get into all that part. But you've assumed some risk by showing up to the venue. You know that if you're in a baseball stadium, a baseball foul ball could come out and potentially hit you. Some people even bring gloves to catch them, right? If you go to a basketball arena, it's possible that the basketball could come off the court, potentially hit you, hit you in the face, whatever. Now, you have situations, some of which I've talked about before, frankly, where things go on which you didn't assume the risk of. Like, we've talked about the malice in the palace when the Detroit Pistons basketball team went into the crowd fighting and punching fans. Now, if you go to a basketball game, even in Detroit, you've assumed the risk the ball might fly out, but you haven't assumed the risk that a player would come out and punch you in the face. That's a affirmative action by the player itself. It's a risk that you haven't assumed by being someone who simply attends a basketball game, right? Or, like, for example, you go to a UFC event and a crazy mad Russian guy comes jumping over the top of the cage. That is not a risk you've assumed, right? You've assumed that potentially someone might be punched and blood could fly out of the cage and ruin your nice new shirt. Sure, you've assumed that risk. But you haven't assumed the risk that the fighter will jump out of the cage and come and punch you, and it's your blood that will be ruining the shirt, right? That is beyond your risk assumption as a spectator for the sport. So going back to me and my injured knee and my badly bruised ego, I'll be okay. I'll get over it. I'll heal up. And I'll be right back out there chasing kids before you know that. So if you like this episode, of course, hit the like. You got something to share with me. Maybe you're old too and you want to tell me about it. Or maybe you're young and you're afraid of getting old. Be sure to put it in the comments below. We always like to hear from you. And of course, be sure to subscribe by hitting over there and watch another episode of Unbillable. Well, you'll see me probably before my injury even right down there.